cool music.
Hey guys, welcome to Sunrise Extra on a Tuesday, a very, very wet Tuesday. We've got flood watches, landslide risks, some slides already happening, and some high winds coming to the coast. So we wanted to extend our weather coverage here to you folks online. So if you have any questions for Rod or checks about, any traffic right now, hit us up, chat with us in KGW Facebook and our YouTube pages. So Rod, let's start with you. What's happening right now?
Well, just a reminder, this flood watch that we started with last evening will be in effect all the way through the morning hours of tomorrow. Now, the back end of the actual steady rain and the risk for high winds, that will come in roughly around midnight tonight. And after that, everything will start to calm. The winds will start to calm. The rain will start to break up. The warning map just says what I said in green, all of Oregon on the west side, and also Washington on the west side under the flood warning. 65-mile-per-hour potential winds for that wind warning along the coast today. The rain totals, we haven't really altered many things in the forecast. The biggest number here is this one, the Coast Range. 5-6 inches looked likely. We're wondering if there could be some isolated amounts over the higher peaks into basins reach 10 inches. Now, whenever that figure goes above 6, you start to assume that you're going to have at least a few of those rivers coming out of the Coast Range reach near flood stage. So rivers will be cresting tonight, including the Wilson River and Tillamook, right about flood stage. None of these are overly alarming. Nehalem and Vernonia expected to, at this point, stay below flood stage. Johnson Creek here in the valley expected to be about 1.5 feet above. Tualatin River near Dilley in Washington County, it's mostly farmland, expected to be near the 17.5-foot flood stage tonight. Again, none of those, if those forecasts hold correct, will be overly a big deal. And then, of course, we have the ongoing watch for sloppiness and low water spots here in town. This is what they call an atmospheric river. Which just named that way because of the elongated nature of the solid moisture flow. And it's lined up with the main jet stream winds aloft, so it just keeps flowing into us. And the fact that it's lined up with the jet stream winds aloft means when you get up in elevation, it's really windy. So you get up to 1,000 feet or just above, the winds today are going to be constant, 30, 40 miles per hour. You get up to 5,000 feet, those winds could be spiking at 50 miles per hour plus on and off. And we talked about the wind warning at the coast today of 65 mile per hour winds. So lots to keep an eye on. I know we had reports during our sunrise show of, I can't remember where, of one tree down. The ground's really saturated. We got some wind. We had a handful of power outages. Thankfully, temps are in the 50s, so not having heat is not a serious issue. Easy for me to say. I keep my house at 68 degrees.
Yeah, that tree down that you mentioned, it was somebody on my Facebook page. And they said, right? I woke up and I heard this cracking sound and a tree was down behind our house.
Yeah, and really, it's raining up in the Cascades. Timberline says, nope, we're closed today. Meadows said, we're closed today because it's heavy rain all the way up their upper slopes. There's our Timberline live cam. Past temperatures are going to be in the 40s. It's going to be windy. It just makes for really treacherous driving. So if you had plans today for maybe to drive over the Coast Range or drive over the Cascades or quite frankly even drive up to Seattle, if you can maybe postpone that trip, it's probably a wise thing to do because even the chance of just somebody having an accident and you get into a slow traffic jam or God forbid you have an accident, it's just a good idea to maybe postpone any big travels in your car today as well.
That video we just showed you, that's actually a live picture from Eric Patterson, our sunrise photographer, who's behind the wheel of Drive 8 this morning, giving us some of those weather shots. Rod, before we get to our other live crew this morning, do you want to answer a simple viewer question?
Yes, I do.
Facebook live stream. It comes from Maria. She says, how's Salem? How's the weather in Salem, Rod?
Salem, right? Actually, the rain rates in Salem over the past several hours have been generally heavier than we have been in Portland. You folks are nearing right about an inch of rain so far today as well, and we think you definitely get another inch today. And Salem so far has seen their winds gusting into the 30s. Nearby McMinnville had a wind gust of 39 miles per hour a couple hours ago in Yamhill County. So this is a big, wide-stretching weather system. Quite frankly, there's not going to be much difference in rain amount. There's not going to be much difference in temperature from Longview all the way down through Albany. We're kind of all in the same boat today, as the saying goes.
Gotcha.
We do have that live crew out this morning in the form of Devin Haskins and his photographer, Chad Dehart. So, Devin, welcome back to the program.
He's got another coat on this time.
Nina and Brenda, all morning long, we're talking about, man, that fella has not put on a hat. He is not putting up the hood. Why have you chosen?
Yeah, dude, why don't you have a hat or your hood on?
You can't even tell, though. That's the thing that I'm marveling
He's got good
at.
hair, doesn't he?
If my hair was sopping wet, I would look like a drowned rat.
The hat I cannot find. You know, the one that says KGW on it. I don't know where that thing went. The hood, I've just never been a fan of wearing a hood. I don't know why. I just don't like the look of it.
You're a true Oregonian.
This only took a minute and a half to put together. This only took like a minute and a half to put together, so you're really not killing much when all this rain's coming down. So,
where are you again? Remind us where you're at and what you've seen so far this morning, Devin. Obviously, you're seeing some heavy rainfall at times, at least.
My right side is completely soaked. My left side is dry, so it's a nice rain coming from east to west. I'm here on just outside the St. John's Bridge, just west of the St. John's Bridge. You know, Highway 30, one of those areas that you typically see because of the steep hillsides on the side. Some more of the landslides. Eric Patterson, one of our photographers, you just saw his live shot. He actually had some. He tweeted out a picture earlier this morning, some rocks that had fallen down. Farther out towards Astoria, about 8 miles east of Astoria, they had a landslide earlier this month that closed down the highway for a couple of days. They've cleaned it up, but I mean, the video that we had was pretty spectacular. I mean, you see a huge chunk of land that came down from there. And ODOT says they're still keeping an eye on that, as well as like the areas, you know, where the wildfires were. Wildfires being a big deal because of all the underbrush that was there. Now it's burned away. Now the water coming in doesn't have anything to kind of soak into. And then you got the Oregon coast. There's typical spots there that when you get the hillsides, but also just the flooding areas that ODOT's paying attention to as well. Again, just with all this rain coming in, it creates a huge potential for these landslide risks.
We're looking at all the areas where we see steep hillsides in there. You get to this time of year with this much rain, there's always a lot of problems in here, especially with all the rain that we've had this year.
You know, and what can you do when you're out and about? Watch the news. Stick to KGW. Go to our app. You know, just kind of pay attention to all the emergency alerts that are out there. Listen to the radio. Just kind of, if you're in those areas that maybe in those watch areas, kind of be aware, be hyper vigilant about what's around you. Be careful when you're driving. I hate to say assume the worst, but you never know with those roads, like especially in a steep hillside. You know, the smallest rock could then trigger even bigger. I hate to be a naysayer about that, but you never know. In my plenty years, where are some of so in the West Hills, I know there's, with the steep hillsides, do you guys have any areas in your years of being here that kind of typically stand out to you?
Oh, absolutely. I used to live in Northwest, up in the hills there in the Forest Heights area, and oh my goodness, West Burnside was always a disaster. There was the big slide near the cemetery, a couple of them. There was another slide. Do you remember during the day? It was like during the morning hours, and people use West Burnside to come, you know, both ways, east and west, and a landslide like swept a car off. I've come across all kinds of crazy things in my drive into the station over the years. I was at one of the downed trees before. It covered all of Burnside, and I had to get around it to get to work or turn around. So I kind of like made sure nobody was coming and did a
to the oncoming
and got
line.
here, but yeah, a little bit of everything.
Yeah, no kidding.
I often think of Vernonia on days like this,
Oh,
right? Because
wow.
Vernonia, I'm probably going to be wrong in how many years ago that was, where they had the major flood. It was probably 12, 13 years ago now. That serious flood on a day like this, you know, a January, February type of day where you get the heavy rains, you get the snow melt, a warmer type of day. And I mean, obviously that community reeled from that system and that storm for months, years, really.
You know, Devin mentioned paying attention to the news or to the app or whatever here at KGW, and Jenny Karnosh is seconding that. She said, I forgot to bring the trash can in. Woke up at 3:30 a.m. to the winds and having to chase it down.
Yes.
Another reminder to watch the news more closely, LOL.
Oh gosh. Hey, I want to bring in one of our old teammates. Chris McGinnis got up early with us, anticipating, there was going to be a lot of...
I'm still young. What are you talking about?
No, you are
look a
still
little
part of
grayer.
our team, and we hope this makes the case that you are permanently back with us, my friend. But boy, you have been watching a ton of, like slowdowns and delays, and now you've got a slide to tell us about.
Yeah, and by the way, to your point about kind of West Hills areas, remember Newbury Road that was closed for like almost 2 years just reopened after that enormous landslide, right? We've got a new one on the Washington coast. This from WashDOT. I'm not sure if you guys can take my graphic full or not, but it is in Grays Harbor County between Raymond and Aberdeen. Right now, US 101 is blocked, at least northbound, near Lund Road. So that's one of our latest trouble spots. Also on the map, let's go ahead and run through a few of them where we're dealing with high water. Frequently a trouble spot here in the Chinook area, US 101, just north of the Megler Bridge, right? This is about 5 miles north of the bridge. Both directions partially covered with water, and especially hard hit this morning in Wahkiakum County. Water over at least westbound SR4 in Grays River. It may very well be covering both sides of the road. It is just west of Skamokawa. Water over both directions near the West Fork Creek on SR4. So the water continues rising, and we've got some delays right now. If you're watching this later in the morning, this probably doesn't pertain to you, but here in the early morning hours, we had some trouble on 405 South. The Sunset right now is a little backed up. Earlier trouble on 205 in Oregon City. That's cleared, but the delays are still out there, and you can see the road spray on the roads as well. So it's kind of a gnarly morning out there. Take it easy if you're hitting the roads right now, guys.
Yeah, Chris, Astoria reports about 3 inches of rain so far. So those hills on the Washington side of the Columbia River you were pointing out have probably picked up at least 4 inches of rain, if not more than that. That would stand to reason. So, yeah, Chris keeping an eye on a lot of trouble spots.
Cam, I wish I could bring up, we've got a WashDOT camera at KM Mountain, which is on SR4. It's up at elevation. That would be one of those areas I would think that would be picking up, 4, 5, 6 inches of rain. And the light of day is still not shining bright enough to see that, but I would really like to know what the roadway looks like up there.
Yeah.
Well, you guys mentioned Astoria. Rod, another viewer who watches us just about every day, it seems to me. Tracy Chambliss. Good morning, Tracy. She says, Tillamook flooded yet? Question mark.
So, that's the Wilson River that often in these events puts water over 101 there in Tillamook. The Wilson expected to be near flood stage, within a foot. Either way, it looks like overnight tonight. I've not seen any reports of high water. I have not in that area. You go down farther, we've got reports in Wheeler and Manzanita of some power being out, according to one of our viewers this morning as well.
Mm-hmm. Chris McGinnis was mentioning Newbury Road, and we want to take show you a picture that our photographer Eric Patterson tweeted out this morning. Look at those rocks that have kind of, they're not too bad onto the roadway, but you can see the potential. This is on Highway 30 near Newbury Road in Multnomah County. He says, please drive carefully. Let's go live to Eric. Eric's been driving around. Boy, he's been in Hillsborough. He's been in downtown Portland. He's been all over the area. And Eric, I know you have a mic on. Tell us, there's lots of people getting ready to maybe head out for the day. What are the driving conditions like that you've experienced?
Hey, good morning, guys. I'm just heading on Highway 26, heading back into downtown Portland from Hillsborough, and mostly it's just road spray. That's the biggest irritant. The rainfall's not as heavy as I thought it was going to be, and just visibility-wise, it's just a lot of road spray.
And Eric, one place as I was driving in this morning, it was I-5 South, just as you approach the lower deck of the Markham Bridge. It looked like a lake on both sides of the lanes going southbound. Have you seen much standing water on the freeways at any point during your time on the air today?
Surprisingly, no. Maybe in the ruts, but that's pretty common. And so you have to try to avoid those. But yeah, no really pooling of water yet. I'm expecting, obviously, if it continues the rest of the day, that you're going to start seeing that. But yeah, not too much of a problem.
Yeah, Brenda, I think I ran into that same spot. It's like under one of the bridges or overpasses or something right before you get onto that Markham Bridge. And I never get in that far left lane when it's raining because I've hydroplaned on that, and it scares the heck out of me.
Oh,
so
my
yeah,
gosh.
but look at just
My studless snow tires, actually, the Blizzaks, are also really good traction in the rain. So I think about that, even though we haven't had any snow. And the people at my house talk about snow all the time. I don't know what it is about 2021. Everybody wants it to snow. I'm like, no,
might as well, man. We're all home.
That just almost all of us.
I do think about that every year when we have a major like rain event during January or February. I often wonder, Rod, what would this be if it was snow? When you talk about those rain totals of 5-6 inches, I mean, those would be like 22-inch snowfall totals.
Yeah.
Look at you dreaming.
I mean, it's heavy, so it would be compacted, but you would think at least 20 inches would be a good measurement out the door.
Aren't you talking about it getting cold next week?
Yeah, so most models say at some point next week. One says as soon as Tuesday night. Another one says more like Thursday. That we at least switch patterns and get out of what has been crazy mild. I mean, night after night, it's been mid to upper 40s at night and hitting 50 or better during the day. And we may finally get out of that and get at least into a cooler, more seasonal weather pattern at some point next week. There's a lot of, if you look at weather map, Canada as a whole, the country, they've been really above normal for, I don't know, I want to say about a month now overall. There's finally cold air building up in British Columbia the back half of this month through the month of February. So you got to like our chances to at least see some of that from time to time come down and get us. And of course, that would give, hope to people that want some low elevation snow. Eric mentioned so far as you look at radar that he said, it's not bad right now, just some road spray. If you look carefully just the west of Portland, you see the rain appears to be not only light, but kind of breaking up. Now, we will have more shots of rain fill in behind that during the day. And you got to think that eventually, by the time people go home from work or home from their daytime activities at 4 or 5 today, that puddling and ponding of water on roadways and low intersections will absolutely become a problem. So we'll be following this all day long.
Courtney Willingham is watching us on YouTube right now. Good morning, Courtney. Good morning, Kate and Brian, also watching us on there and commenting. She says anything about the Willamette River. She lives next to the river. Are you seeing anything about that, Rod?
To be honest with you, that river's not a concern. I did not check the exact numbers.
Well,
but
that's a good thing.
Just know that it's not a concern.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good.
Concern.
Brian Rock Rafin on YouTube. What's up? He says, how high is the Cowlitz River? That may take some checking.
Yeah.
Or is it?
You guys stare at this beautiful background, and I'm going to go grab my laptop.
All right, he's going to get some info. I like it.
All right.
While you do that, I can bring up another point that I think is worth mentioning from our friend Jeff Lucas watching this morning. And this is a great shot to show while reading Jeff's comment, because he asks, Jeff does, what's up with people wearing dark clothes outside right now? He says, I almost ran over 3 people last night alone. And then our other buddy, Willie Huey, replied to Jeff.
He's so bad.
And Jeff says, Willie says to Jeff, those are actually rookie numbers. You got to pump those up a bit. He says, I'm up to 6 near misses already this winter, I suppose he means. But honestly,
for real,
it almost happened to me a couple of weeks ago in the Safeway parking lot. I felt like I was looking through a windshield that looked just like this one that Eric Patterson is giving us. Rain was coming down. My wipers were going. I was at the crosswalk where someone would walk across to get to their car, which someone was doing. So I'm stopped. And then there was another car sort of off to my left that was going to turn in front of me, and I was going to let them go first. And then they weren't moving. I wasn't moving. And then I could kind of tell like they were kind of giving me the signal to go ahead. So I start to go, didn't notice that this woman was stepping into the crosswalk at the same time. And I had to quickly hit the brakes again, right? But I could say, was startled. And then she said something. There was even like a, And then but she was dressed in black pants, jacket, hood, and shoes. And then when she walked by the car, I did roll down the window. I said, excuse me, I know you're mad at me, but I promise you, you are very hard to see right now in the rain, in that outfit, like head to toe black. And she was like, good point. She actually said that to me.
You always see it from like whatever perspective, when you're the pedestrian, you think like, how can they not, their headlights are shining on me. I'm like blinded. How can they not see me? But when you're the driver, it is definitely hard. Rod has information.
All right, let's go. The Cowlitz River up in the Kelso, Longview area is expected to go just inches above the 21.5-foot flood stage tonight. You think that would be sloppy and not any big issue. The Willamette River down below the falls in Oregon City, I mean, these rivers will be rising rapidly today and tonight. It's expected to crest at 23 feet tonight. That flood stage is 27. So that's a good visual. Wow, the river's high, but it won't approach flood stage really. But the Cowlitte's one of those rivers that will. So again, if you live in a spot where these rivers get within inches of flood stage one way or the other, and that typically spills onto your property, you know, there's a good chance that would happen overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning.
Okay, I have another question for you.
Yeah.
Coming from our friends on YouTube. He says, big fan of the show, first time commenter. And I said, we love first time commenters.
Yeah.
He says, Rod, do you think we'll see snow this winter? And that was in your outlook, right?
Yeah. So the winter outlook we put out in October said no chance of snow, no significant cold weather, period, through the month of December. Wow, that was a great call. All right. It said, so the best chances of snow would hold off until January, February into the first week of March. So right now, all eyes are on whether or not we shift to a colder weather pattern at some point next week. So I'll hold on right now saying I do like the chances that we're going to get at least one snow event at some point the last week of January into the first half of February.
Well, there you go, Anna. She says, I want snow. And then Jeff Lucas, hopefully tomorrow will be warm and sunny. Keep dreaming, my friend. Vince Dolan says, absolutely soaking wet in Manzanita. Can't work without power.
We had a report of both Wheeler and Manzanita without power at this moment. So we hope that gets corrected soon, yeah.
How about two more pieces of helpful information from our viewers? Two regular viewers of Sunrise Extra. Susan Decker, for no one. Good morning, Susan. She says, make sure that if you are in a car that's gray or black, be aware that your car often looks the same color as the street when it's raining like on a day like today. So she says everyone should keep their headlights turned on even during the day hours. And then Sheila says she warns people not to drive near any of those huge trucks that blow up all the water there on the freeway. She says one time, in fact, she did try to do that and pass a truck. The water blew up in her windshield. She ended up getting into a wreck.
Oh,
she says she hit the bushes and her car came to a stop. Ooh. But some helpful advice from Sheila and Susan.
Because those semis will dump buckets of water on your windshield. It's not like a spray. It feels like a bucket is going across. Does Eric need new wipers?
I was just going to say, like, it's just smearing over there.
It is. I think KGW needs to spring for some new windshield wipers.
I can't be a defrost situation. It's like...
He says thumbs up, yes. Let's talk to engineering about that.
Les Schwab.
Yeah. Hey, Eric, thank you so much for, keeping going for us. And thank you to Devin and Chris McGinnis and Rod for all this up-to-the-minute info. Stay with us. You can download our KGW Weather app or our just KGW News app. It's right on the front page, all of this flood watch information. And we will see you guys tomorrow on Sunrise Extra. Stay safe.